Welcome to Breaking Babylon with Elder Asiy'EL on YouTube. On this channel, we'll be exposing the hypocrisy of America. We'll be covering current events as it relates to injustice in our communities. We'll also be covering topics such as politics, sports, and religion as it relates to our people and injustice. If this is something you would like to join, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Also, consider subscribing to our church channel. And religion as it relates to our people and injustice. If this is something you would like to join, consider subscribing. Shalom, brothers and sisters. My name is Elder Asiy'EL. Welcome to Breakin Babylon with Elder Asiy'EL ben Israel. Hope you brothers and sisters are doing good today. Before we get started, want to make sure y'all can hear and see me clearly. If so, let me know in the chat. Also, while you're doing that, make sure you like, subscribe to the channels. The channel description. And if you're on YouTube, our information is in the channel description. Also on Facebook, make sure you subscribe to our channels, like our videos, share our videos. Also on Facebook, like our channels. Okay, so please do that. Let me know if you can hear and see me clearly before we get started. Let me see if I can hear. Okay, loud and clear. All right, so appreciate that. So now, once again, shalom, brothers and sisters. Welcome to Breakin Babylon with Elder Asiy'EL ben Israel. I think we on our 5th or 6th episode, so we wanted this a new channel, so make sure you support it. Before we get started, though, I want to get some stuff out the way. Our YouTube, or we have a church channel called Israelite Temple of the Living God. Make sure you subscribe to that. We'll put that on your screen right now. That's our church channel. Make sure you subscribe to our church channel. We're live every Sabbath at 3 p.m. Also, we're live every Friday at 7:30 p.m. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. We go live on Facebook on Fridays at 7:30. So make sure you subscribe to our Facebook channel, Israelite Temple LGSA. Just type that in. You will be able to look us up. So, like the page, and you will be notified when we go live every Friday. Also, subscribe to our Breakin Babylon page here. So make sure you subscribe to this channel where we go live on Wednesdays. We're going to try to go live every Wednesday or every other Wednesday. So make sure you subscribe. You subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and you'll be notified when we go live, okay? So please support the work that we're doing in the ministry, exposing America, waking up our people, the lost tribes of Israel. All right, and teaching the true gospel of Yeshua, or Jesus the Christ. All right, so make sure you subscribe to our channels, support the work. Once again, that's our church channel. Subscribe to it, hit the notification bell there. And also, this is our Breakin Babylon channel. So make sure you subscribe to both channels, hit that notification bell. You'll be notified when we go live. Don't miss out, brothers and sisters. We bring out good information, okay? All right, so as you can see, brothers and sisters, what we're dealing with today is Canon apologizes again, right? Also, we'll be covering Seth Rogen's comments dealing with what he said about being a Jew, right? So all that we'll cover tonight. Once again, like the video, share support. Also, we have our information at the bottom. If you want to support the work financially, you can. If you can't, also, it don't take much to share a video, subscribe to a channel, let everybody know that we're live, okay? So what we're gonna do is get right into it this evening. Appreciate you, brothers and sisters, tuning in with us tonight. And I wanted to get into this because a few weeks ago, Canon, said some things on an interview he did with Professor Griff on Canon's class. And, he got in trouble for it. A lot of people say it was anti-Semitic. Therefore, his company, Viacom, that was over his Wild 'N Out show, dropped the show, canceled the show due to his comments, right? So since then, the brother Nick Cannon has been apologizing from that point to recently, until a couple of days ago, he did another interview with ACJ, with another Jewish group, once again apologizing. So what I wanted to do is go into that, cover that, and at some point, we have to come to the realization that this is bigger than Nick Cannon and his apology. It's more of a statement of, we're gonna bully you so no one else with your type of platform will come out and speak on it, because we're gonna embarrass you. We're going to make you look bad. We're gonna take money away from you. So I don't necessarily look at this as a thing now and I never did, as an apology, as Nick Cannon said something that was so terrible. I never saw it that way. But what I do now is see is that the Jewish people are bullying Nick Cannon into all these apologies, making an example of him so no one else will, with a platform his size, come out and speak against the Jewish people. Now, we know these same tactics were used during slavery. When a slave would try to he would try to rise against his master, or he would run away or whatever it may be, he would be brought back, and all the slaves would have to see the punishment, so the other slaves wouldn't think about doing the same thing this slave that was caught did. So, brothers and sisters, we have to understand this is a tactic being used by the Jewish people to keep us silent. Those of us that are in positions of what I would say power, or have a big platforms, they use those type of tactics to keep us quiet, right? So that's why it's always good, and I've always said that we need to establish our own platforms. We need to do for ourselves, so we won't be hushed up or quieted because we want to keep a couple dollars in our pockets, right? So that's why it's important for us to do for ourselves, so we won't owe anybody anything, right? And I do find it quite strange that Nick Cannon was he became under fire because he made comments about the Jewish people, about what they consider a conspiracy, that the Jews run the world, or owe the finances and all these things. And remember, Nick Cannon is not the first person to say these things. This is history. History has said these things before Nick Cannon would walk the earth. It was already, people were already under that notion that the Jewish people run the world. Right? We know Jay-Z said a comment about the Jewish people having money, right? Now, of course, he had to apologize for it. So these things are not new occurrences that happened with Nick Cannon, right? So let's first get that established, right? So, but I do find it ironic that they want to say these are stereotypes, but at the same time, look how much pressure and look how much Nick Cannon has lost due to the statements that he made. Now, if I was in that position, I would think, well, if it's not true, how has this man lost his show, money that he was using to feed his family? If it's not true, then why so much outrage? If they don't own the money, they don't own the Hollywood, if they don't own, all these things are stereotypes, how is it that Nick Cannon lost everything? Well, not everything, but lost his show on Wild 'N Out. In one breath, they'll tell you, well, no, the Jewish people, that's a stereotype. But then at the same time, they counsel Nick Cannon, and he's still apologizing. Only people with power can do that, and influence can do that. So I find it kind of ironic that they would try to play this role of we're innocent, it's just stereotypes, but at the same time, counsel Nick Cannon and counsel the show. And the same people that counsel the show are Jewish. The people that own Viacom are Jewish people. So I find it strange that he says these things. The Jewish people say, no, that's not true. But then you go and you look in the background, who own it and who counsel them is Jewish people. It's kind of strange to me. But this is what we're going to go with. This is what we're going to cover with Shalom, brother. Shalom, brother. This is what we're going to go in with tonight, right? So for us to truly understand this thing, we must go back and see what Nick Cannon said, right? That caused the uproar, that caused everybody to go against him. Even with us, they say, well, the black community turned their back on Nick Cannon. I don't think that's true. But what I think is Nick Cannon has to have a stance, and he has to stay there. Right? He can't be one side over here to try to save $1, then over here, please. You can't do that. Black people we've been selling out for $1 for so long. At some point, we have to come to the realization that let's not sell our people out for $1. Let's stand on truth. So this is what we're going to go into. But before I want to lay down some groundwork, right? I want to lay down some groundwork first before we get into the topic, okay? Make sure y'all like, subscribe to the channel, support the work, right? And follow this. Follow this. And before we go into it, I want to start with Seth Rogen, right? Seth Rogen did a podcast with a guy that I think the podcast is called WTF. Of course, you know what that stands for. And what they did was they were both Jews. The guy that was over the podcast, I can't remember his name, but we'll pull it up and you'll see. And Seth Rogen. So they were doing the podcast back and forth, and they were speaking about Jewish issues, right? And what I find funny is that this whole interview, they were talking. These are Jewish guys, and they were speaking about Jews in a sense to where if I would consider anything anti-Semitic, it would be this conversation that these two Jewish guys had with each other. Nothing Nick Cannon said. I mean, if you want to go into the comments what he said, and let me add this too. I believe what Nick Cannon said about white people were worse than he said about the Jews. He said white people were savages. They lack melanin, and they basically all those things. Y'all heard what he said. So I would agree more that was worse than what he said about the Jews, because what he said about the Jews was they were not the Jews. These are not these people, the Jewish people that's in the land today are not the people. We are the true Jews. They stole our birthright. It's nothing wrong with that. But you're going to see later that the Jewish guy that Nick Cannon is speaking with the ACJ, saying identity politics. See, we're not. That's what they're dealing with. So he called what Nick Cannon said about us being the Jews identity politics, right? So let's start out with this real quick. I want to start out with the interview dealing with what was said between this guy here over this podcast. Let me get his name so we can get right into it. All right. Mark Marin, I think that's his name. Mark Marin over WTF podcast. Okay, so I'm gonna skip through these. I'm gonna skip here and there and show you certain points that I found that was kind of funny. Okay. All right, so now I'm gonna go to the 17-minute mark. Let's start right there. 17 minutes in. Of course, we all know Seth Rogen claims to be Jewish, right? Likewise, Mr. Mark Marin also claims to be Jewish, right? And we know that's not true. We know who the Jews are. It's not to say anything bad about them. We are not going to say call them the devil and all those things. We don't do that. Maybe other groups do that. We don't. We honestly feel like they're just misinformed. Like we were misinformed. They were taught a certain way. They came up a certain way. But the difference is they was raised in a sense to use their Jewish identity in a way of getting places in life. We are Jews because we've been oppressed. We under the curses of Deuteronomy 28. So we're not using it for a political gain or financial gain. This is how they use their Jewish identity, as a financial or political gain to get what they want. Because when you see this interview, they're gonna pretty much tell you they don't give a damn about their Jewish identity. So why are they claiming to be Jews? Because it's a benefit when you claim to be Jewish. This is why. So let's listen to this. So I'm gonna start at the 17-minute mark, and I want to make sure y'all can hear me clearly or hear the audio. Let me turn this up here. Tell you they don't give a damn about their Jewish identity. So why are? Hold on, I think something else is playing. Hold on one moment, brothers and sisters. Let me turn this off. All right. Make sure nothing else is playing in the background. All right, so listen to this. All right, listen to this here. Hold on, I think something else is playing. Hold on one moment, brothers and sisters.
What I was going to say is he seems too intimidating and scary to be a Jewish person. But that makes James Caan the scariest Jewish person of all.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. You know, James Caan, and I've talked to his son. I think in real life he's relatively scary. I think he's.
There you go. That's good.
He's that kind of Jew that hangs out with gangsters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. James Caan's lucky Gene Hackman's not Jewish, because that makes him the best Jew.
Yeah. And his father was a butcher, Caan.
There you go. No, I classify Jews as kind of soft Jews and sinewy Jews. Like, I think that's like a category of
the wiry Jew.
Yeah, like Madonna, like Israelis are very like they're like leathery and like they're
tough though, man. They're tough.
They're veiny and muscular and yeah. No, I put them in like a tough category. Yeah.
Oh yeah. They don't fuck around.
No,
Israelis aren't going to put up with our fucking middle class,
no,
Jew bullshit. Do you know what I mean?
They don't like that shit.
No, it's like it's ridiculous. They don't even want to know. They don't even care if we're religious. You know what I mean? It's like all they want to know is that, do you believe we can kill them? Or
Exactly.
Do you think,
Where do you stand on all this?
do you think they deserve a country or?
Now I hope, and I want to excuse the cursing and all that. I meant to put that out before we start, but yeah, they speak with very vulgar language. They're supposed to be Jewish, right? Religious people, but you see the context of how they're speaking now is how they're speaking against the Israeli Jews, right? Now we could never get away. No one outside of the Jewish community could ever get away with speaking against the Israelis. Now they're speaking against the Israeli Jews in Israel, right? So let's continue.
Yeah. I haven't gotten along with an Israeli in a long time.
I don't think I've ever gotten along with an Israeli.
So at my Jewish summer camp, there were Israeli counselors who were fresh out of the army, and they were psychotic, and they would torture us. So
really?
I never. Yeah.
Was it a sleepaway Jewish summer camp?
It was, yeah.
Because I went to a Jewish day camp.
So now I wanted to put this out. So as y'all heard where they said they never get along with Israeli Jews, right? They laughing, cursing, pretty much making fun of their identity, right? But we're going to keep going. I want y'all to hear some more things now. Let's keep going. Now, all these statements that are made would be anti-Semitic if anyone else would mention these things. Now, Seth Rogen, remember, is a Jew, so-called Jew, and also Mark Morin here is also a Jew as well. So let's continue.
Yeah.
And then I went to a very non-Jewish sleepaway camp.
I went to a Jewish sleepaway camp where the goal was essentially to get young Jewish kids to fuck one another to make more Jewish kids, I think.
Really?
Y'all hear what he said? Now, listen. He said he went to a Jewish camp. This camp was pretty much set up for them to have sex with each other. Now, if anyone else would even mention anything like that about the Jews, it would be called anti-Semitic. But I'll keep going. Let's keep going.
At age, you had to find, or
was planting, it just planting the seeds?
It wasn't just a sort of experiment, you know? And
I mean, a lot of people. My sister met her husband there. Weirdly, a disproportionate amount of people I know produce Jewish offspring due to this summer camp.
Really? Is it a Canadian summer camp?
Yep.
A Canadian Jewish summer camp?
A Canadian Jewish summer camp. Everyone goes there.
But were you there when you were what age?
Like maybe like 9 to 16 or something like that.
Oh my God! So it's like every year the same people. You grow up with each other. Everyone gets laid the first time at the camp.
You see how they're speaking? Now, Seth Rogen said he went to about the age of 9 to 16. And he said at this camp, they're having sex at this camp. Now, wait. Now, when we start saying things like this about the Jewish people, we're labeled anti-Semitic. But at the same time, and this is the issue that we're having, that when we speak certain things, we speak it not because we make it up. We let the Jewish people say these things about themselves. We just reiterate what we've heard and say, you know what? The Jewish people said this. For example, when we bring out books like the 13 Tribe, which the Jewish people said have been debunked, right? And we show that, well, the Jewish people have an Ashkenazi Khazarian origin, right? So they immediately label it a theory and anti-Semitic. But the guy that wrote the book is a Jew. He's Jewish. Arthur Koestler was a Jew. So how is it that you label me as anti-Semitic when I'm just quoting what another Jew has said about you? Also, another book, The Invention of the Jewish People, Shlomo Sand, right? He have a book dealing with the Jewish people, saying that it was an invention, right? This label was quickly labeled anti-Semitic and so-called debunked, right? And that's what they do. Anything that goes against the Jewish people, they quickly label it anti-Semitic and so-called, and I quote, debunk it, right? Now, we'll quote something out of the invention of the Jewish people, right? And will be labeled anti-Semitic, but the guy that wrote the book is Jewish. Now, later on, when we go into, I'm going to show you a couple things dealing with Henry Ford. Every time something get played out and we just say, hey, this is what the research shows, this is what we've read, we're labeled anti-Semitic. What am I saying here? The things Nick Cannon said, right, It was nothing that he sat down in his basement or at Canon class or his podcast and said, hey, let me make these things up about the Jewish people. What Nick Cannon did, like with all of us, we sat down, we read books, and we use our common sense and say, well, that does make sense. The Jewish people, they do it. They do get money from the U.S. every year, billions of dollars. Is that a stereotype? No, that's the truth. Let's see. This book says the Jewish people own Hollywood. So how many Jews own businesses in Hollywood, movie companies, record labels? That stuff is owned by Jewish people. So when we read these things, it's not like we can't go and look them up. We can see it. We see them for ourselves, that the stuff that these books are saying in the 18th and 19th century are happening right now in our 21st century, that the Jews own these companies. When you go into Viacom, you go into all these big movie and record labels, when you go all the way back to the owners, the CEOs, the people that started, are Jewish people. So when we say these things, it's not because we just sit around making things up. It's we read these books by Jewish people, by scholars, by PhDs, by doctors, scholarship, and we say, well, according to this, it says this. Here are the sources. Now, when we bring this out, they'll say, oh, you're bringing out anti-Semitic doctrine or anti-Semitic literature or anti-Semitic books. We didn't write the books. What's that saying? Don't shoot the messenger. But what do? They shoot the messenger. Now, if you have an issue, my issue would have been this. Nick Cannon didn't write none of those books. Why not go to the source? They have a real issue with Louis Farrakhan. Why not sit down with Louis Farrakhan? And he has a whole research team, the Nation of Islam research team, where they go and research these things. That's how they show in secret relationship between blacks and Jews how the Jewish people had a hand in slavery. These things are documented history. It cannot be refuted. Right? So the Jewish people had a hand in transatlantic slave trade. That's the truth. But that will be quickly labeled anti-Semitic. Why do they do that? It's a trick, brothers and sisters. Anything they label anti-Semitic now has to be retired and put in a little chest somewhere so nobody ever look it up. And if you're caught in that chest looking things up, they'll say, well, you anti-Semitic. This is their way of hiding things. It's like a criminal. If somebody commit a crime, he tries his best to do it, hide the evidence. This is what the Jewish people are doing. They know that they have their hand in finance, world power, world government, music, media, news media, the movie industry, everywhere. But what they do is they hide it. Anytime somebody mention it, they hide it under the cloak of stereotypes of anti-Semitic or anti-Semitism. That's how they hide it. Right? But let me keep going. Let's keep going. So now I want to jump around. Like I said, I'm going to go to now the 24-minute mark. These are Jews. I'm going to let the Jews speak, right? This is what we're going to do. Now watch this.
You mean men or women?
The men would be easier to pick out probably from a lineup.
No, I think Ron Jeremy's a Jew.
Porn stars. They're a female Jew. Yeah, they're a female Jewish.
So what they're talking about now is Jewish porn stars. I mean, this is the mindset of the Jews. See? But they're supposed to be God's chosen people. Let's keep going.
Porn stars.
What happened? Does this part of your brain go like, how did that happen? Like
my answer, it does, and then my answer is like probably super liberal, like very liberal upbringing.
That's the weirdest thing about Jews in this sort of like, this chosen people business that's been kind of put on us, is that there's this sense of exceptionalism, which is kind of weird.
You hear what he said? This chosen people business that have been put on us. They're not chosen of God. It was been placed on them. We are the chosen of God by culture, by heritage, by bloodline. They were chosen to be this people to carry to do what? To carry out an agenda on the whole world. This is why they were chosen. Right? Let's keep going.
Because that's what I learned about when I was at the deli. I had to wrap my brain around. Of course there were Jewish plumbers. All these Jews that come over here, first-generation immigrants, how are they going to figure out how to do whatever? Going to make pickles like in the movie or whatever. And it wasn't until the second or third generation that they actually started to integrate into the middle class and upper class and make a lot of money.
Wait, what did he say? They started to integrate and started making a lot of money. Now, if we said that, we'll be labeled anti-Semitic. But this is a Jew saying that the Jewish people came to America and then they integrated into America and started to make a lot of money. Let me play it again, because if we say something like this, we'll quickly label anti-Semitic. Let's listen again.
Of course there were Jewish plumbers. All these Jews that come over here, first-generation immigrants, how are they going to figure out how to do whatever? They're going to make pickles like in the movie or whatever. And it wasn't until the second or third generation that they actually started to integrate into the middle class and upper class and make a lot of money.
For sure. It's, and I think, like, to me,
So let's keep going. So this money issue that we're dealing with. Now you see, this is what the Jewish people said. So they said they make a lot of money, right? We didn't say it. We're reading what the Jewish people feel about themselves. We're just telling you what we've read, and we'll be labeled anti-Semitic. Now, if a Jewish person says the same thing we're saying, what are they labeled? Now, let's keep going. Let's keep going down the line, right? Let's go into, we're going to keep playing because now we'll keep playing. I'm going to jump to 2545, right? 2545, and let's start here.
the closest thing to the shtetl they could find.
The barren landscape.
Exactly, just a frozen, barren landscape. And so it was, I mean, making the movie, it was like really kind of reenacting my own history in a lot of ways. And it was, I mean, it made me think of it 100% differently. It's like, oh yeah, like that's why my grandfather was so tough. Like he grew up at a time, and my grandmother was so tough. Is like everyone hated, people beat the shit out of them. You know what I mean? He had to fight. They had to, I think a lot of people, I think, don't I just conversationally understand that, like, if you meet a Jewish person in America, they're probably here because someone tried to kill their grandparents not that long ago. And we should be in Eastern Europe.
Well, that was actually.
Y'all hear what he said? So he said, if you see a Jewish person in America, it's probably because somebody was trying to kill them. Now, wait a minute. Let me put the camera on. I want y'all to see me. So he said that if you see a Jewish person in America, is because they were probably being killed somewhere else and they came here. Question: how did black people get here? How did black people get here? The black people that you see in America today, they didn't come here by choice. They came here on the bottom of slave ships, being killed in Africa, coming through the Middle Passage, dying on the way to America, being tossed overboard just to come to America to be killed, oppressed, worked as slaves for free. So the majority of our people that's here in America is not here by choice. It's because we came over here as slaves, to be oppressed, to be killed, to then be free, then have black codes. Then after black codes, Jim Crow. Then after Jim Crow, civil rights, the civil rights movement, right? This is what black people have. Then after that, affirmative action, where we couldn't work, they had to hire a certain amount of black people. Discrimination and racism that we still fight today. Police brutality that we still fight today, right? To this very moment. So when he say things like that, how can you look at your people and not see the things that are happening around you? So what am I saying? We can, if we want to play the, and I quote, who got the biggest penis award, it's no competition. We have been oppressed, and I'm not speaking against the Jewish people. If they've been through some things, but I'm gonna show you why. Our thing that we came through is because we were black people. We know that, but because God cursed us because we were disobedient. The reason the Jews are being oppressed the way they are is because of what they've done throughout the whole earth. There have been bullies everywhere they go, and people got fed up with it. In Russia, in Europe, right? They were kicked out of these places, came to America, and began to do the same thing. So when you see crimes committed against the Jewish people, it's not because, oh, they Jewish people. It's because people are still upset from what they have done throughout the earth. People have seen these things. That's not to justify them being, no people should be hurt. No people should be harmed because of what, for that race, religion, culture, whatever it may be. But that's the reason between us and them. We are being oppressed and killed because of what? Because we're simply black people. But it's deeper than that, because we know that God cursed us with a curse because we were disobedient. This is a thing that we didn't choose. The Jewish people were over there causing harm in those areas in Europe, in Russia, causing harm to those people, and had to be expelled. This is documented history, brothers and sisters. Right? Everywhere they go, they've been expelled and kicked out of the places. Why? Because they were doing typical Jewish business. And what is that? Like you see now, going and dominating everything, going in by unlawful means, doing typical Jewish actions. And we're not going to say what that is. You can read books and you'll see that. Right? Doing what they normally do, and people became upset. Right? So, like I said, it's not to justify it, but that's the honest to God truth. Now, but I wanted to mention that comment because he made the comment seem like, well, if you see a Jew in America, it's because they're being oppressed. If you see a black person, they came on cargo slave ships, majority of black people. So how can you use one sense and say, well, look at this people, if they over here because of it's probably because they was being beat up and killed, but the people that's over here that you see every day are over here because they were killed in Africa. That people was killed in Africa. They came on a transatlantic slave trade. They were killed and then came over to be oppressed. How do you forget that? Right? But let's keep going. And once again, like I said, the Jewish people are only sensitive to their issues. They don't give a damn about nobody else's, right? They don't care about the black Holocaust. They don't care about what black people went through. They don't care about the Hispanics, the Chinese people, only them. They don't care about the Native American and how the Europeans came and stole the land from the Native American Indians. They don't care about that. Only thing they care about is the oppression that they so-called suffered and how much money they can make off of it. And their suffering was because, like I told you, them being in other lands causing trouble. Not because, let's just mess with the Jewish people. Brothers and sisters, y'all have to read. Because if you're not learned, you would think, it's just simply because they Jews and people hate them. It's not that. If I go around and I'm a bully everywhere I go, and then somebody start messing with me and fighting me back and standing up to me, then I quickly go under the cloak of anti-Semitism. It's a trick. Somebody have to start asking, well, why are they so pissed off at the Jewish people? What did they do? But we don't ask what did they do. We just automatically go under that cloak of they're the Jews, they're the chosen people of God, and people never look and see what was the Jewish people doing in Russia? What were they doing in Europe? Why were they expelled out of all these places over there in Europe? See? Why did Henry Ford write The International Jew? Why did he write these things? This guy spent millions of dollars doing the research. And guess what? That book was quickly labeled anti-Semitic. See? Now, let's keep going. So we heard that, what he said about his grandparents, right? But let's keep going.
A plan that when the Jews fled the Holocaust to spread out, there was actually an organization that would place Jews in as many different places as possible.
I think that's a better strategy. Like, why?
So they couldn't corral them up again.
Yeah, well, you don't keep all your Jews in one basket. I don't understand why they did that. It makes no sense whatsoever. I totally, I agree with that strategy.
Spread them out.
Talking about they should be spread out, that they shouldn't be in the land of Israel. Why would you put all your Jews in one basket? What he's going into is because the fighting that they're fighting with the Palestinians. Right? Neither one has any legitimate reason of being in the land, but the land belongs to the Israelites. But they do. right? They are fighting the Jewish people who came in and started murdering them, caused a war with them. So this is what you're seeing here. But see, they're making mockery of this whole thing. Now, let's keep going. I just want to hear y'all. I just wanted y'all to hear these things, what they're saying here. So let's go. I'm going to keep going and read and let them go for a couple minutes, okay? Listen.
It would be nice to live somewhere that was not a part of the Christian apocalyptic prophecy. Is also probably a good idea. He's like, maybe settle somewhere that the Christians don't think you all have to die in order for the
and then they want us all to
making mockery of Christians.
go there. They need a certain number of Jews.
They need us to go there so we can die. So the apocalypse.
But it's nice to know that, like, in the present they need us.
There's some common vested interest in the meantime.
The Christians they need us for their ridiculous vision, and
exactly.
they're not gunning for us. Not the
Christians. But luckily.
See, making mockery of Christians, saying they ridiculous visions. See, now listen, these are Jewish people, brothers and sisters. These Jewish people were raised Jewish. This is how. Remember how people always say your upbringing shows how you are as an adult. This is how Jewish people behind the door think about Christians. See, so they speaking of how they've been raised. They're making mockery of Christian people. Those that believe in the Bible, like us, who believe that the Messiah is coming, right? That the Messiah came to the children of Israel and he will make his return. They making mockery of that. Let's keep going.
Are ridiculous. Like, our ridiculous visions are temporarily parallel in line with one another.
Could you imagine living in Israel? Would you ever go live in Israel?
No, it would be.
I'm the same way, and we're going to piss off a bunch of Jews. It's like, for some reason, my mother, who's not religious or whatever, but her generation, they were kind of hung up on Israel, and they find some comfort in it. And I've been there, and I'm like, I couldn't imagine living here.
No, there are nice parts, and I think I could imagine at best you are convincing yourself that you are far enough away from a major conflict to not worry about it,
right?
Which is like a terrible thing to convince yourself of, and I don't understand. To me, it just seems very like an antiquated thought process. Like, if it is for religious reasons, I don't agree with it because I think religion is silly. If it is for truly the preservation of Jewish people, it makes no sense because, again, you don't keep something you're trying to preserve all in one place, especially when that place has proven to be
volatile,
pretty volatile. I'm trying to keep all these things safe. I'm going to put them in my blender and hope that that's the best place to. That'll do it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And so I also think that as a Jewish person, like, I was fed a huge amount of lies about Israel my entire life.
Y'all hear what he said? As a Jewish person, he was fed a bunch of lies. Let me bring it back. Let's bring it back.
Yourself that you are far enough away from a major conflict to not worry about it,
right?
Which is like a terrible thing to convince yourself of, and I don't understand. To me, it just seems very like an antiquated thought process. Like, if it is for religious reasons, I don't agree with it because I think religion is silly. If it is for truly the preservation of Jewish people, it makes no sense because, again, you don't keep something you're trying to preserve all in one place, especially when that place has proven to be
volatile,
pretty volatile. I'm trying to keep all these things safe. I'm going to put them in my blender and hope that that's the best place to. That'll do it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And so I also think that as a Jewish person, like, I was fed a huge amount of lies about Israel my entire life. They never tell you that. Oh, by the way, there were people there. They make it seem like it was just like sitting there. It was like the fucking doors open.
Hours for the taking.
Like, it literally, they forget to include the fact to every young Jewish person, basically, like, oh, by the way, there were people there.
Well, they just want to make sure that you are frightened of your own survival to the point where when you get old enough, you will make sure that that money goes to Israel and that trees are planted and that you always speak highly of Israel.
See, they telling you the propaganda, the agenda. That's why they want to be in the land. Because if they're not in the land, they can't claim to be the Jews. They understand the Bible. The Bible says about Israel, God's chosen people, that land. So they run into that land for political reasons to do what? Like he said. This is all political with them, brothers and sisters. It's not spiritual. They don't believe in God like we do. Wake up. Come on, man. It's all political with them. You see, they making mockery and laughing at it, saying that they will never move to Israel. Now watch this. How many brothers and sisters online that's watching, how many of y'all will move to Israel? If the Most High said, cleanse the lands out like the Bible said it will be, the lands is cleansed from the heathen and it's right how it's supposed to be, will not you move back to Israel? See, and that's the difference between us and them. We've been over in oppression and slavery so long, we want to go back home. We want to go back to Israel. We want to go back up to that land flowing with milk and honey. But since they're not the people, they don't care. They're not under that same amount of oppression. They're not under the same amount of issues that we have in America, right? So they don't care about being in the land. But black and Hispanic people, we want to go back to the land of Israel. We want to go back. We want, even Gentiles, they want to go back into that land. They knew how the people were back then. See? So it's funny that I find that they say that, but those that are the descendants of slaves in oppression and in genocide, we want to go back to our homeland. See that? Let's keep going.
Israel must survive no matter what.
Yeah, and I don't understand it at all. Oh. And I think, like, for Jewish people especially, who are who view themselves as progressive and who view themselves as analytical and who view themselves as people who ask a lot of questions and really challenge the status quo, like, what are we doing?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a thing. I mean, I get frightened to talk about it. You start.
I know.
And we're afraid of Jews.
I'm afraid of Jews.
Now, let's stop. He said they get frightened to talk about it. They're afraid of Jews. Now, anytime we say that Jews have power and stuff like that, we're labeled anti-Semitic. These are Jewish people saying the exact same things that we say. The Jewish mafia. I'm not talking about mafia like you see in a sense. I'm saying it symbolically. That's how they act, but behind closed doors. If you say, like with Nick Cannon, you say a certain thing, they shut you down. This is what you're seeing, brothers and sisters. But we're not allowed to say these things. But the Jewish people are, right? These are Jewish people. Well, Seth Rogen apologized. Yeah, he apologized one time, and that was it. Look what Nick Cannon has to do. See, what Nick Cannon got to go turn backflips. He had to go eat at the rabbi's house on Shabbat. He had to go and I'm sure donate money. He had to go and do research and study and read Jewish literature. All these things he had to do. Right, Brother Joshua said, I do. Yes, sir. We want to go back home soon. And the Messiah gives us the green light, according to prophecy. Our praises, and that's the point. But you see, they said they don't want to go back to the land, but we do. Is that not Bible prophecy? See? This is what we're saying. We want to go back. How in the book of Ezekiel, they was at the water's edge singing about Zion. This is what we do. But the so-called them supposed to be the real Jews, they saying they don't want to go back to Israel, or they don't want to go to Israel. Watch this. Let's keep going.
I'm 100% afraid of Jews.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Which, as we started it, aside from James Caan, we have no one to be afraid of.
Yeah.
See? So making mockery. But now let's go to the 36-minute mark, and we're about to finish this up right here. Right? And we're going to jump into Nick Cannon real quick. Now, watch this. This is coming from a Jew. Listen.
Arc is that this is not silly. This is actually like
practical.
A very well thought out practical protocol to do after someone dies, and whether you believe it in or not, it like is useful, And I think that's also something that because I went to Jewish school and I went to synagogue, and you realize that, I was brainwashed and kind of just taught a lot of things that I don't believe, and I was never really given the choice to make these choices, decisions for myself. You drastically kind of revolt against it for a while, and then now I'm kind of, in the last few years, have more been in the phase where it's like, okay, yes, there's a lot that I should not have ever probably been told to take as seriously as I did. But
what were you taught? Because I mean, I was brought up like conservative Jew, and I don't remember. We learned a little bit of Hebrew. I learned to read Hebrew. I did the prayers. But, I don't remember, ever being afraid of God or taught to pray in any real way. I don't know what I was really...
That's true.
So, what did I really learn? I mean, I have no practical relationship with God. I mean, it seems like with Jesus, they're like, Jesus died for your sins, and, you ask for forgiveness, and it's a very kind of A plus B equals, you get to heaven. With Jews, it's sort of like, who are we talking to?
It's true. But I do remember, but that was a funny thing, though, because I think when you're young in Jewish school, they do kind of lay it on. And I was pretty young, but I remember, my sister, who's only 3 years older than me, being like, oh, none of this is, I don't believe in any of this shit. And I was like, what? And then she's like, Mom and Dad don't even really believe in this shit. Do you realize, we're not doing any of this stuff? And I was like, oh, wow. I'm being taught. And that is just it's like the tooth fairy. It's like anything. It's like, I was taught things that were never meant to come to fruition or be real in any way, shape, or
except
form.
to remind you at your age now that maybe there's something to it.
Well, y'all heard it from himself. He said what? That dad, he said his sister, they don't believe in this stuff, and his mom and dad don't believe in it. Brothers and sisters, we're trying to tell you, when he said that comment about Jesus, us believing in Jesus, that salvation leads to Jesus, to the Messiah, we believe in that because we spiritual people, because we are the people. They are not the people, so that's why they speak the way they do. It's in the spirit, right? I'm not speaking about all white people, of course. What I'm speaking of in this sense of those who claim to be Jews and are not, that take on this identity for other reasons other than bringing back their culture, believing in the Messiah, taking on their culture and coming back to it and believing in the Messiah. They have other ways. They have other reasons for being Jewish. And what are those reasons? Like I said earlier, when you're Jewish, it's a certain type of influence that you receive, certain type of gift that you have, it's a certain type of power that you receive. You can walk in and say anything about the Holocaust, right? Anything that's not going your way, you can go and the Holocaust. I'm a Holocaust victim. My grandmother, my grandfather, right? Of course, any genocide, any persecution, or anything, we're against with any group of people, right? But at the same time, we have to see, we can't forget our own genocide to be in place with other people, right? We can't now look at the Jewish genocide and say, well, forget about mine and let me focus on the Jewish genocide, like Nick Cannon is doing. Right? So this is what they're doing. So you see, they don't care about the culture. They don't care about God. He don't fear God. He wasn't taught to fear God, right? The only thing they would do is, here, say you're Jewish and just go out, walk out the door. Anything happen to you, honey, just say you're Jewish. This is what they used it for. Political gain, right? Influence, positions of power. This is what this thing is used for. It's a uniform, right? It's a uniform. It's a cloak. That's all it's used for. They don't care about you and your identity. They don't care, right? We practice this thing daily. We're not doing it for money. Think about it. Black people are the most oppressed people on the planet Earth, but yet we still believe in God. We still believe in God. We still believe in the Messiah. We still believe in his second coming. We still believe in the promises given to our forefathers, right? But meanwhile, they don't believe in any of that. You see? So why are they claiming to be Jewish? It must be something else that they're benefiting from other than those promises that was given to Abraham. We're not saying we're Jews to be rich. We're not saying we're Jews to receive anything. We're saying we're Jews based off the Bible, history, archaeology, right? by stuff that we can see and we've seen, we've read, right? This is why we're saying we're the Jews, because now we understand why we're going through the things that we're going through. And with that, we haven't asked for any money. What we have received is better than money. It's better than any money you can give. And think about it. The real Israelites, the most oppressed people on the planet, why would we want to be them people if we're not those people? If it wasn't something behind it that was better than money and resources and power and positions. So it's something way more better than that. And the reason why we cleaved on to our heritage, to our true culture. Right? Now, let's go into this real quick. I want to go into something else real quick and show you this. Before we go into Nick Cannon, I want to set the stage real quick, because what I find disturbing is that we are taught in America that we have a freedom of speech, right? But now we have to start asking ourselves, up until what? Until who? Into what group? Because we have a freedom of speech and expression with anything else. For example, I showed last Wednesday the degradation of the black woman. I showed how Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, which according to the world, they were expressing themselves as women, right? So they have a freedom to do that. My video is not the fact that they don't have a right to do that. According to America, they do have a right to do that. What I'm saying is this expression is harmful to our children. It's harmful to the black woman. It's harmful to the black race as a people, right? So this is what we're going into when we speak against that. So how is it that Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B can show their behinds on TV, but then Nick Cannon can't say, listen, that the black people are the Jews and the Jewish people are imposters? What happened to his freedom of speech? What happened to his freedom of expression, right? That's on his own TV. It's on his own show. But let's read. I want to go into this before we get started. Let's go into this. Now, freedom of speech, right? Freedom of speech is classified here as, look at your screen here. It says freedom of speech is a principle that supports the freedom of an individual or community to articulate their opinions and ideals without fear of retaliation, censorship, and legal sanction. Let me read it again. Freedom of speech is a principle that supports the freedom of an individual or a community to articulate their opinions and ideas without fear of retaliation, censorship, and legal sanction. Now, what happened to Nick Cannon? What happened to our brother? He made those comments. He was counseled. But it says without fear of retaliation. Let's keep going, because someone might say, well, there's limits to freedom of speech. Okay, well, let's keep going. So let's read here. Adopted in 1791, freedom of speech is a feature of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. So that's your right, right? According to United States law, Constitution, you have a right to a freedom of speech, right? It's your own opinion. Don't mean it's true. But even if it's not, they shouldn't censor you or punish you for something that you believe in. That's your own opinion. But I want to show you how the Jewish power is way beyond the Constitution, because you can speak about any other group all day long and won't be censored. How they have spoken evil about black people since we've been here. Nobody's been censored. Somebody say the N-word, oh, we'll just suspend you, and we'll let you go. But look at how much Nick Cannon has to do to show he's sorry. Just a simple apology is not enough now. Because what? They want to show how much power they have. So the next Negro get up and try to say something against them, they're going to look at Nick Cannon and say, nah, hell no. Look what they did to Brother Nick. I ain't doing that. That's the whole point. Let's keep reading. Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted in 1948, states that everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. See that? It says here, today, freedom of speech or freedom of expression is recognized in international and regional human rights laws. The right is enshrined in Article 19 of the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, Article 10 of the European Convention of Human Rights, Article 13 of American Convention of Human Rights, and Article 9 of the African Chapter of Human and People's Rights, period. So it says, based on John Milton's argument, freedom of speech is understood as a multifaceted right that includes not only the right to expression or disseminate information and ideas, but three further distinct aspects. Number one, the right to seek information and ideas. Number two, the right to receive information and ideas. And three, the right to impart information and ideas. So you have the right to seek it out information, you have a right to receive that information, and you have a right to teach that information, to impart that information and idea. Right? So it's simply what Nick Cannon did. He saw it, he saw the information, he read it, he imparted it, he spoke about it, right? We have that right. But his right was infringed upon because he was counseled based on, because they said it was anti-Semitism. Now, who made the book on who can say what and who can't? I didn't read that here in the article. Well, it's only certain words you can say and would don't apply to freedom of speech. I didn't see that. What I saw was you have a right to seek information, receive information, and impart information, give it out. It didn't say, well, unless you say that the Jewish people own the world, or we are the Jews, or it's a conspiracy to hide the truth that the black people are Jews. I didn't see that anywhere, saying that we don't have a freedom of speech, up until we say those things. I didn't see that. Right? It says this, international, regional, and national standards also recognize that freedom of speech and the freedom of expression includes any medium, whether it be orally, written, in print, through the internet, or through art forms. This means that the protection of freedom of speech as a right includes not only the content, but also the means of expression. So not only the content that you're doing, but whatever medium or whatever platform you're using is protected also. Where were these rights when Nick Cannon got counseled by Viacom? Let's keep reading. Now, listen, I'm a fair brother. So what I do is I go down, I say, well, let me see the limitations of fair speech. I mean, not fair speech, but the freedom of speech, right? It says here, legal systems sometimes recognize certain limits on or to the freedom of speech, particularly when freedom of speech conflicts with other rights and freedoms, such as libel, slander, pornographic stuff, pornography, obscenity, fighting words, and intellectual property. Now let's look at these two, right? Defamation is the oral or written communication of a false statement about another that unjustly harms their reputation and usually constitutes a tort or crime. Now, they gonna see the Jewish people hold on to that. Oh, it's defamation, right? It's libel. So they'll say, well, what he's saying is harmful to the Jewish people and their reputation. But wait 1 minute. It's not what Nick Cannon did not. The things Nick Cannon said were things that Jewish people say. And the things he said can be proven. We can prove those things. We can prove that the Jewish people own Hollywood. We can prove that. We can prove the Jewish people own the music industry. That can be proven. We can prove that the Jewish people own the banks. The Rothschilds. Let me stop here. Let me go into the Rothschilds. So the things that he said, these things can be proven. All right, let's see. Rothschild family. Now, this is not even deep research, brothers and sisters. This is Wikipedia. It's so simple that simple as Wikipedia search. They have the sources at the bottom. Now, I wouldn't say this is deep research. This is just on the source. This is milk research, right? This is just something I can show you real quick to show you. Now, watch this. It says the Rothschild family is a wealthy Jewish family. Let me make that bigger. So when Nick Cannon said that the Rothschild families, the financial systems, them owning the banks, them being prominent in the financial institutions, these things can be proven. Therefore, we're not defaming. It's not defamation. We can prove they own Hollywood. We can prove they own the NBA. We can prove they own the NFL. We can prove they own music and media. We can prove it. Right? The Rothschild family is a wealthy Jewish family originally from Frankfurt that rose to prominence with the Mayor Amschel Rothschild, a court factor to the German Landgraves of Hesse-Kassel in the Free City of Frankfurt, Holy Roman Empire, who established his banking business in 1760s. Now wait, we understand that from here, his sons, exactly, it's not defamation if it's true, exactly. His sons spread out. Let's read. We're gonna read. We'll let Wikipedia tell you. Right? It says here. Unlike most previous court factors, Rothschild managed to bequeath his wealth and established an international banking family. Let's see what international means. Because I mean, maybe we don't understand basic definitions, right? Definition. Let's see what international means. It says existing, occurring, or carried on between two or more nations. So international. So worldwide, right? Let's go back. His wealth and established an international banking family through his 5 sons. These things you can read in any book dealing with the Jewish people and how they run the world. And it's also on Wikipedia. That how his 5 sons went to London, Paris, Frankfurt, Vienna, and Naples, starting banks. Therefore, when you understand and know the history, Abraham Lincoln was forced to borrow money for a war from the Rothschild family. Guess who the Rothschild families are? Jewish. We're not making this thing up. Rothschild means red shield. What shield is he talking about? That so-called Star of David that our brothers be wearing. This stuff goes back to the Rothschild family. We can't make this up, brothers. This is the truth, sisters. This is the truth. Look it up. Abraham Lincoln borrowed money, but they hide that type of history. He borrowed money from the international bankers, the Rothschild family, for a war here in the United States. See? And they did this throughout the whole world. It will show you how they will start different wars because they knew that the governments would have to come to them for money. And they was playing both sides. This is history, brothers and sisters. This ain't nothing we making up. But this is why they fight against these things, because if the truth came out, if the truth came out, then we will be looking at them like, hey, well, I see why so much harm is coming to your people, because you have caused more hell than any person on the planet Earth. So they quickly label it anti-Semitic. So you will never go and look it up. Look at here at this point. It says the Rothschild family has frequently been the subject of conspiracy theories. How is it a conspiracy theory? Many of which have anti-Semitic origins. See, they quickly label these things. You have to be mindful, and that should get your mind going. Anytime somebody quickly trying to cover things up, it must be some truth to it. We see that with children, right? What do children do? They do something, they quickly try to hide it and cover it up so you won't find it out. This how quick they do it. Any information comes out about them, they quickly label it anti-Semitic. And what do they do once they label it anti-Semitic? They put it in the anti-Semitic chest. And anybody fumbling around in that chest is labeled anti-Semitic. It's no longer a conspiracy theory if we can prove it to be true. It's not defamation if we can prove it to be true. Defamation is making let me go back so we can see that. Making what? Defamation. Let me go here. It says here, is a written or oral communication of making false statements about another one. False statement meaning that cannot be proven true. We can prove what we say is true. Brothers and sisters, why don't you ever think that Jewish people ever sit down with a person that think these things and have a civil debate with them? If it's not true, sit down and speak on it. If it's not true, call Farrakhan and his Nation of Islam research team and debate them. Bring your proof on why it's not true. Because they can't, brothers and sisters, because it's true. That's why they quickly hide it and label it anti-Semitic. Right? And it got to be true. Another reason, if it's not true, these people will tell you that what Nick Cannon said was a conspiracy theory and it's not true. It holds no weight. It's not, historically incorrect. And then they drop him from his show and like that quick. I'm like, how is it not true? The exact same thing he's saying, how these Jewish people control media, and then they shut him down. Aren't y'all not proving what y'all saying is wrong, that's not true, right? Are y'all making Nick Cannon right? You are. What you're saying is a conspiracy theory. You're making him what he's saying about you right. He's saying 6 families own media. Right? 6 people can make decisions. He make that statement and y'all shut him down. Aren't y'all not proving him right? Right? Let's see something. I think it's Viacom CBS. I mean, it's this simple, brothers and sisters. It's this simple. All right, so Sherry Redstone, Rothschild Redstone. Remember, let's see. They go into here. This is the person that's over Viacom CBS. That's over Nick Cannon. You see, it says, is an American media executive with a background of numerous aspects of the entertainment industry and revelated ventures, right? Let's see. Now, Redstone is a Jewish name. Redstone is a Jewish name. She's Jewish. But don't believe me. Don't believe me. Let me just go into something else real quick. Let me go into this real quick. Because Viacom has a parent company. I wish I can find it. I pulled this up a while ago, right? I found this. Let's see. Background. Maybe it's here. Let's see. Right. Let me see here. I can't find it now. But back a couple weeks ago when I was doing my research on this, it showed the parent company of Viacom CBS, and the owner of the original one was Jewish. It was a Jewish man. Right? But like I said, they done took it down, I'm sure, because they don't want to be proven, like we said. I mean, it's that simple to prove this information. Right? Now we got that out the way. I want to show you something else, right? I want to show you something else. Here we go. Yeah, this is the guy. I think this is who I want. This is who I want. Watch this. See, this is what we're saying, brothers and sisters. Sumner Redstone. Now look at his name. Rothstein, right? Was an American billionaire and media magnate. He was the majority owner and chairman of the National Amusement Theater chain that through the National Amusement. Redstone, up until his death, was and is family remain majority voting shareholder of mass media conglomerate Viacom CBS. Who is he? Redstone was born to a Jewish family. Oh, man. Look, listen. This stuff, we cannot make it up, brothers and sisters. So the people that own Nick Cannon's show are Jewish people. So the very statement he said was true. So when we say Jewish people own Hollywood, we're just not talking. Read it again. Sumner Murray Redstone, Rothstein, is Jewish, was an American billionaire, businessman, and media magnate. He was the majority owner and chairman of the National Amusement Theater chain. Through National Amusement, Redstone, up until his death, was and is his family remain majority voting shareholders of mass media conglomerate Viacom CBS. Viacom CBS, Nick Cannon's show, right? Who is he? Redstone was born to a Jewish family. See? So you have to watch them. Anytime they jump and say anti-Semitic, that when we say certain things, they run Hollywood, and listen, we can prove it. Now, let's keep going. Let's keep going to the next point. So now, let's set the stage with that. We saw how the Rothschilds, right, were Jewish. You see how your international bankers, your Federal Reserve, and all those, the banking system has been dominated by the Rothschild family, the Kennedys, and all of them, Jewish. See, and we're not reading no Illuminati book to find this stuff out, brothers and sisters. This is history. This is scholarship. We're not using sources of somebody that text s'mores. We're not using that. We coming with real facts that can be proven by Jewish sources themselves. This guy was a Jew. Arthur Koestler was a Jew. International Jew Henry Ford spent millions of dollars doing the research. So we're not using text s'mores or any of those books that people frown upon and say they've been debunked. We're using sources. Their own sources. So we can't be accused of being anti-Semitic. I want to read this to you. I want to read this real quick too, right? Now, I want to show this on the screen, right? I want to show you this, brothers and sisters. Before we go into the Nick Cannon apology again, we have to set the stage real quick on see, the Jewish people are very smart people. So let's go and set the stage, brothers and sisters, on what's really going on here, right? Now, this is called, let me see here. Hold on real quick. I want to bring this up because I want y'all to see this. What did I type to get this? I was looking at it on my phone here. I'll just read it on my phone. Listen to this. Listen to this. And it's by Dr. George Simon, right? Author, public speaker, consultant, character development coach, and composer. And it has to do with how manipulators vilify the real victim. Why do I want to bring this out? Because Nick Cannon's repeated apologies now have switched the roles of the victim and the villain. Now we have taken focus off the villain, right, which is the Jewish people, and they have taken our role as the victim. We have become the villain, they have become the victim, right? And what they have done is, remember, don't forget their role in how they played and why black people here in America, right? They had their hand in the slave trade. That's how they got some of their riches, right? Now, we have done nothing against the Jewish people. Nothing. You can't see a brother going killing people because they Jewish. We don't do that. They try to blame a couple people that was rogue when we don't know who they are. Suppose they like the 12 tribes charter, one of the camps, and they said they were black Hebrew Israelites. But other than that, we have already debunked that. They had nothing to do with us, right? But you can't find Hebrew Israelites killing any group of people, right? So, but only thing Nick Cannon said was we were the Jews. And it caused this big uproar, and now he has to apologize. He had to be educated by the Jewish people. Now I want to read this. Manipulators like to vilify their victims, right? Manipulative abusers are covert aggressors. They have their way with you by fighting cleverly and underhandedly, and they use a variety of tactics to con you. However, they particularly enjoy playing the victim game. Let me keep reading. The aim of this game is simple: create confusion about who the real victim is. And the manipulators do that in two ways. They can try to convince the true victim that they're the one who they're the one actually hurt. Let me read that again. They can try to convince the true victim that they're the one who actually is hurt. Or they can make the victim out to be the villain and the aggressor. Moreover, they can put the two tactics together. That way, they deliver a powerful 1-2 manipulative punch. And I quote, "I'm the injured one and you're the cause." Quote, the aggressor asserts. It's how they play the victim and vilify the real victim. And unfortunately, the strategy often works. See? I want to read it again one more time so we can understand this. I want this to sink in real quick. The aim of this game is simple: create confusion about who the real victim is. It's simple. Let's create confusion of who the real victim is. Who's the real victim? The Jewish people have stolen our identity, brothers and sisters. They're claiming to be a people that they are not. They've had their hands in the transatlantic slave trade. They've had their hand in our oppression being over here in America, right? They also have a racist book called the Talmud who says black people are cursed with black skin. But who's the victim? He should apologize. They making Nick Cannon apologize for some statements he made. Where is the apology for the racist content that's in the Talmud? I brought this lesson out a couple weeks ago. Please go check it out. It's called the Jewish people owe us an apology. And I go deeper into detail on how racist the Talmud is to black people. And come to find out that the Jewish people played a role in Western racism. The same books that the Southern Baptists used to justify slavery and racism was taken from the Jewish people. This can be proven. So the racist literature that's in the Talmud was used to justify racism here in America. So this is the con game that they play, right? The aim of this game is simple: create confusion about who the real victim is. And the manipulators do that in two ways. They can try to convince the true victim that they're the one who actually hurt. So they make the true victims out to be like they're the ones really hurt. So now you're the true victim, and now you're apologizing to them, the villains. Or they can make the victim out to be the villain and the aggressor. Moreover, they can put the two texts together. That way, they deliver a powerful 1-2 manipulative punch. And I quote, I'm the injured one, and you're the cause. The aggressor asserts. It's how they play the victim it's how they play the victim and vilify the real victim. And unfortunately, the strategy works. I've seen some pretty egregious examples of aggressors who vilify their victims. I witnessed many domestic batterers convince a spouse they brought their injuries upon themselves. See? So the reason that Canon, listen, man, this is deep, brothers and sisters. Listen to what he says. Let me read it again before I say what I say. I've seen some pretty egregious examples of aggressors who vilify their victims. I've witnessed many domestic batterer convince a spouse that they brought their injuries upon themselves. The reason that Canon speak the way he speaks is because what the Jewish people, the hand that they had in his captivity, the hand that they played in his oppression, his slavery. So that's the way he speak when he says that the Jewish, we are the true people of God, they're liars. It's because what they have done to him. But now the batterer has made the victim seem like he's wrong and he's had to apologize to them. Well, yeah, I got hit and I deserved it. Brother, you said what you said because of what the batterer was doing to you. What they continue to do. The racism that they have in their Talmud. The racist literature that the Europeans use to justify slavery of black people in America, right? The racism in the Talmud that says that Gentile women are not the same as Jewish women, right? The racist in sick doctrines of them raping little girls. See, this is all in the Talmud, right? The issues and the racism and oppression we had to suffer over here in America, not because we chose to be black, simply because we black people. See? They chose to be Jewish because they saw some money. They saw the benefit of being Jewish. We didn't choose to be black people. Let me keep reading. I have even interviewed murderers who wanted me to feel sorry for their injustice they suffered that made them lash out. Manipulators can go to great lengths to cast themselves as victims and vilify others. See? So what are they doing here, brothers and sisters? To get the focus off them, they have placed it on us as the villains. And they're the victims. So you would never go and research their hand that they had in our demise in America. Brothers and sisters, the Jewish, go and look it up, brothers and sisters, the Jewish people. So what they do, let me take the focus off me, put it on them so they'll never look at me as a part of the system that destroyed them. See, this is all by design. All by design. Now, let's go into this. Now, let's go into the interview. Let's go into the interview real quick. Make sure y'all like, subscribe to the channel, brothers and sisters. Like it, share, right? Support the work. All right, so now what we're going to go into, we're going to go right into this. All right, so now let me put this over here. Now, we're going to start at a minute and minute 32. We're going to start right at here. Right? Now, listen to this.
Noam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Belle, and welcome, Nick, to AJC Advocacy Anywhere. It's a delight to have you here.
Rabbi Noam, my man, good to see you.
we thought that it would be a good idea if we could take our private conversations a little bit more public as part of the process of not only getting to know one another, but allowing others to know you, and people in your community perhaps know me and see how we're having a conversation together.
Absolutely. A healthy conversation.
So a lot happened in the last month.
To say the least.
And I want to hear you tell it in your own words. Certainly there was blatant anti-Semitism in the video, in the podcast.
Now remember what I said earlier. Remember that role we just read in that article? Remember, the villain is vilifying, it's to vilify the true victim. See? You see an example of that right now. The batterer, is now trying to change and reverse and trade roles and become the victim. See? The reason that Canon is in the position he's in now is because of the Jewish people. See? Give me my identity back, then you don't have to worry about anti-Semitism. Come on, let's keep going.
That we were able to view or catch snippets of,
Right.
With classic stereotypes and even conspiracy theories about the Jewish people, a little bit of identity politics.
Right.
Who can call themselves what?
Right.
Kinds of things. And then there was some introspection, education, perhaps a series of apologies.
Indeed.
And these kinds of conversations. So why don't you tell us, in your words, where you were and what happened and where we're going?
So now, y'all heard that right? So what did Nick say that was anti-Semitic? Once again, let's go and understand what does it mean to be anti-Semitic? Let's see what it means to be anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitism, in Wikipedia, is hostility. Did he show any hostility to the Jews? Prejudice or discrimination against Jews. Anti-Semitism is hostility to, prejudice, or discrimination against Jews. He was not guilty of any of those things. The man just simply said, we are the Jews. That's his opinion. Like I said earlier, they have buzzwords. Anytime you question their identity, they consider anti-Semitic. They have a chest where they have all of the words which you can't say. In anything you say within those words or that category, then you're deemed or labeled anti-Semitic. So you can never challenge them. It's a game. It's a game, brothers and sisters. So, as you can see, Nick Canon didn't say anything that was anti-Semitic. If y'all remember what he said, matter of fact, let's play the video. Let's play what he said to see if anything that he said was anti-Semitic. Now that we understand hateful hostility, he didn't show no hostility. Matter of fact, the brother said it's no hate. We should all get along during his podcast. Now let's see. Let's see. Now I'm gonna play this. Y'all check this out.
Let's break it down, and let's break it down in small bits where people can actually get it.
Right.
Like a lot of people.
Now this is an 8-minute video, so check it out. So you tell me if you hear anything that's anti-Semitic with what Nick Canon said.
People that are coming into consciousness, where they are right now. I sat at the elders of the Dr. Benz and the John Henry Clarks and the Professor Jeffries, Professor Smalls, Shashi McIntyre, and a few other people I could mention. Now, I'm there, physically there,
Right.
not YouTubing it.
There was no YouTube back then. Yeah.
You had to physically go there, write the notes, study.
Maybe get a VHS tape or something
Right,
like
and
that.
if you had 5 of them in your, you was making a whole lot of noise on the train. I'm saying.
Right.
All right, so to my understanding, now I want to thank Khalid El Hakim from the Black History 101 Mobile Museum. He had set up a talk with a rabbi.
Right.
This is recently.
Right.
So, and I'm in front of a room full of Jewish people.
Right.
And I'm asking basic questions, and maybe you can help me out.
Right.
So let's look up the word anti-Semitic.
Right.
Who are the Semitic people? And then we're going to get to the public enemy thing.
Right.
So I looked up who is the Semitic people. And there's a list of Semitic people, and anyone can do this right now. You can look up who are the Semitic people, what are the Semitic languages.
Right.
Has absolutely nothing to do with any white people.
Right.
Not at all. So in order for me to be anti-Semitic, I'd have to be anti-black man, anti-black woman, anti-black people, anti-Africa, anti-all of the people.
Because the Semitic people
are black people.
So y'all get that clarity. We're going to say that again.
Now,
the Semitic people are black people.
So I cannot be anti-Semitic. Now, what do they really use the phrase anti-Semitic to do? That's the thing.
To divide us. Right.
So they put this title on you, anti-Semitic, and then they neutralize you.
Right.
Separated me from the group.
Right.
Say he's a Jew hater. He hate white people. He hate gay people. He hate all white people with freckles and red hair, whatever.
Right.
And they put that on me, which I never said these things.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I just ran down the history given to me by my elders. And anybody could read this for themselves.
Right.
So it ain't a Professor Griff hating people thing. Me and Chuck, we did all the interviews.
Right.
We sat down. We went to D.C. We was doing the interview that day, and it wasn't even my interview.
Right.
Chuck's interview, he didn't want to do it.
Right.
So I sat down with him. Now, mind you, I'm the Minister of Information.
Right.
I got 2 suitcases now.
Right.
I used to carry with 2 suitcases full of books.
Right.
And so I laid them all out on the table. So when I went into the interview, I was ready.
Right.
First question he asked is
just like this. How we just got to lay it out.
Exactly. Who controls the music industry?
Well,
what more am I supposed to say? You understand? I laid out the names, the people, the organizations they belong to. I laid it out. Now, mind you, this is not coming from Professor Griffith. I wasn't hating nobody that day.
And was it in that statement? Was it just like was it white people, Jewish people, white supremacy? Like was it more just like you just kind of just you weren't saying a hateful statement. You were just saying this is who controls it.
I laid out the names.
Right. Oh, so you specifically said people's names.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
People's names.
At that time, because this was what, 80, 89, 90?
Yeah, about 80, 89, yeah.
Okay.
Y'all keep in mind that Professor Griff was a public enemy, right? So he know the music industry well. So this is not a guy just talking stuff. He was in the music industry. He got kicked out because the Jewish people said that he said some anti-Semitic statements, so they kicked him out of public enemy, right? So let's keep going.
Yep.
And you just said people's names. And
I laid it out, and
right.
I showed them the books.
Right.
And I looked it up and showed it to them. This paragraph says this. These people control film industry, TV,
right.
music industry.
And as we know right now,
these are the players.
When we talk about media, there's 6 major corporations that control all of media.
Exactly.
This is beyond the music industry. And this is you were laying that construct down back then and naming names, calling them to the table. But even as we sit right here today, there's 6 major corporations that control everything that is delivered to you as we speak.
Exactly. So the 6 people can sit in this room and decide everything that we experience as far as entertainment. We watching the movies, reading the magazines. 6 people.
Right.
I laid that out. It wasn't a Jewish conversation.
Right.
It was about the music industry. The first 20 minutes of the conversation, we was laughing, joking, dapping each other up, talking.
Right.
His girlfriend walked in. We were talking about David Mills now.
Right.
Who dropped dead on a movie set.
Right.
His girlfriend walks in, and his girlfriend's white and Jewish. Well, I'm from Roseville, Long Island. We don't have no experience with white people like that. So I'm like,
except for Howard Stern.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So when she came and sat down, the complexion of the conversation changed. It became more, and I'm like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A couple of times he even pressed the pause button on the cassette.
Yeah,
recorder.
that privilege starts speaking. And
right. So now he had to change his tone because now the white Jewish girlfriend is sitting next to him.
Right.
And she's getting offended
right.
by me calling out the Cohens and the Moskowitz and the blacks and the,
right.
And I'm like, okay, but still no hatred involved. I'm just laying the history out.
Yeah, we're just speaking facts.
When I finished the interview, he admitted and said to himself, you know something, this is the kind of stuff that can get you in a lot of trouble.
And then, you know what, and because this is one of the reasons why I feel honored to speak with you, but I feel like it's so prevalent and so on time, is because what we're dealing with the Honorable Minister Farrakhan being silenced on Facebook and other platforms.
Right. Neutralized.
Neutralized.
Right.
Which COINTELPRO is still active to this day. And COINTELPRO, for the young people that don't know, the counterintelligence program. And when you say counter, it's like because we have so much intelligence and information, they want to counter that by destroying us, by neutralizing us, by silencing us. So what we're speaking of today, because they attempted to silence Minister Farrakhan right now, which is COINTELPRO actions and activations, and they did the exact same thing to you. Why? And this is just a question that I have, and even coming from the aspect of if the true children of Israel, if we're speaking of the Jewish community, if we're speaking of the Abrahamic faiths that Islam comes from, that Judaism comes from, that Christianity comes from, all comes from Abraham. And we are all speaking of brotherhood and unity. Why is this division? Why is it such a problem? Why is there so much fear, specifically in the black community, in the Jewish community? And I'm kind of, this is a leading question which I want to get to, but why is it such a problem to speak the truth?
I think it's a problem it became a problem for us because of the propaganda machine. But it's more of a problem for them.
Right.
Because they've taken our birthright.
Right. They don't want us to be them.
Not deeper than that. They don't want us to be us. They don't want you wrapping your head. They don't want.
Wow.
Nah, they don't want. Now because you recognize.
Right.
And now they identified you. Oh man, Nick knows.
Right.
Who he is, and then now the flip side of that, you know who they are.
Who are they? When we speak of, because this is where it truly is, and when we talk about those the 6 corporations, when we go as deep as the Rothschilds, centralized banking, those the 13 families, the bloodlines that control everything, even outside of America. When we talk about the people who, if we were truly the children of Israel, and we're defining who the Jewish people are, because I feel like if we actually can understand that construct, then we can see that there is no hate involved. When we talk about the lies, the deceit.
You hear what he said? He said there was no hate involved. So this man, they having a conversation based just off information. So I don't know. I didn't hear anything dealing with being anti-Semitic. I didn't hear any hate. I didn't hear no discrimination. Nothing. He talking about the 13 families, which can be proven. He talking about centralized banking, which we proved, but with the Rothschilds. So these things can be proven. So when they said, I don't hear, and he even said here, why is it so much, if we all under Abrahamic faith, why is there so much hate? I don't hear nothing about anti-Semitism and him hating Jews and all that. I don't see that. Right? And he asking, he just said it's no hate involved. We just trying to figure out why is it like this? Why is it that anytime we speak the truth, we get shows taken from us? Or like in the sense of Professor Griff, he get kicked out of Public Enemy. Anytime you speak the truth, why is it that? This is what he asking.
Fake dollar controls all of this. Then maybe we can get to the reason why they wanted to silence you, why they wanted to silence Minister Farrakhan, and they want to throw that we are having hate speech when it's never hate speech, when it's not.
Right.
You can't be anti-Semitic when the Semitic, when we are the Semitic people, when we are the same people that who they want to be, that's our birthright.
That's our birthright.
So why is that a problem? And shout out to We Woke TV. This is Brother Video. So shout out to him and I'm using this video. But why is it a problem? So that's what Nick Cannon said. No hate involved. He even put it out there, that disclaimer. That it was no hate involved. He just asking a simple question. Why is it that when we speak the truth, why is it that we are the true Semitic people? At this point, this is his own opinion. I didn't see no hate. I didn't see anything that he was riling up people to go against Jewish people. I don't see any of that. I see a discussion anybody would have at any debate. If you debate a Jewish person, these are the same issues you would debate. Well, now would they consider you anti-Semitic? If you go to a debate and you a brother that claim to be a Jew and you deal with a Jewish person, you bring out these same categories, would they consider you anti-Semitic? That was a discussion about who the true people were. It had no anti-Semitic undertones at all. See? He said we are the people, and all of a sudden he's anti-Semitic. See, we anti-Semitic because he said black people are the Jews. But that should show you, brothers and sisters, how much hatred the Jewish people have for you. To the point they say it's hateful for you to identify yourself with them. That's what they saying. They saying it's hateful for black people to identify as being Jews. That's how much they hate you. Now, when we say they own the world, they own money and finances, now, shouldn't that be a blessing? Because according to, if they the Jewish people, they fit the prophecies in Deuteronomy 28, because it says you should be blessed upon all nations. You should be cursed. You should be blessed in the city. You should be blessed in finances. You'll be blessed and you'll be able to loan to everybody. But why do they say it's a stereotype? Because they don't want the truth to come out. Now, if they're the Jews, they should be like, look, we fit Deuteronomy 28. The blessings. See, we fit the blessings, but why do they say that it's not true, that it's anti-Semitic, and we say that they own everything? What are they hiding, brothers and sisters? Because when you start doing the research, you'll see the real agenda that's behind them and what purpose they want to be Jews. It'll start exposing itself. Now let's go back, because this rabbi said that Nick Cannon had anti-Semitic statements and all these things. I didn't see any of that. I saw the whole video and I said, well, I don't see nothing there. The only thing that I did see that if anybody would say anything, it should be white people. Europeans should come up and say, Nick Cannon called us savages. Now they pretty got a point on that. But this rabbi, what point do he have? Because he said we are the true people and he's not? At this point, that's in his opinion. This is something that you would debate about in any type of debate. Who the true people are. Now it's anti-Semitism because the brother said we are the people and you not? Well, maybe we have resources. Maybe we have research. Maybe your own scholars agree with us and say y'all not the people. See? Maybe your own history being from Eastern Europe. Maybe when Zionist was created, and Zionist was created to establish Israel, a place in Palestine, in Israel. That's the reason you have the Zionist movement, Zionism. So they can go and prepare themselves in Israel. These things were designed not from the Most High. You have the Balfour Declaration way before 1948, them planning on putting the Jewish people in the land of Israel. This thing ain't have nothing to do with the Most High God. It all had to do with an agenda that will later be fulfilled in our time, which you see now. So the stuff we're saying, we're not making these things up, brothers. This is stuff we can prove, and we will prove it. Subscribe to the channel. That's why I tell you, because I have a lesson coming dealing with the Jewish people, and I'm going to show you who they are according to history. Right? No anti-Semitic, no hatred. We're going to show you who they are according to the Bible and why they try, not the Bible, but history, and why they try so hard to, anytime somebody come against them with research or evidence, they immediately label it anti-Semitic. I'm going to show you why they do that. But y'all should know why they do that. Anytime truth come out and you don't want it to come out because you know it'll be harmful to you, you automatically label it, oh, it's not, it's no evidence to support that. It's a conspiracy. You put labels on it. Like America for the longest. America say anybody that believe in UFOs were conspiracy theorists. then now they're admitting that UFOs exist. See? That's what they do. Anything they don't want you to find out. You don't think the U.S. been knowing UFOs were real? Yeah, they know they were real, but they didn't want you believing in it. So what they do, any research, any evidence that's presented to you that's factual, they say it's anti-Semitic. Therefore, you'll put it down. You won't do no research on it. You won't look into it. See? So now, let's go back to this video with Nick Cannon, okay? Now, we read that. Now, I'm not going to really go into Nick Cannon's response because at this point, it's sad, man, that our brother has gone down to this point, right? And this video is not to talk about our brother. It's not. But just showing you how low a person, and it's not necessarily him, it's what they're doing to him, right? But let's keep going. Listen.
Yeah, I'd like to start off by saying the great historian Dr. John Henry Clark says sometimes you could talk about the right things in the wrong way. And never even a question of intention or identity. My podcast, Canon's Class, has always been a place to have, difficult and tough discussions in an open environment. And my goal has always been to have discussions with people where I learn. I'm the student, I'm the vessel, and I wanted to learn more about the situation with Professor Griff and how he felt that he had been blackballed for the last 30 years and kicked out of the world famous group, one of my favorite groups, Public Enemy, due to some anti-Semitism that was projected in the 80s, or the accusations of anti-Semitism during that time. So I was like, okay, this is a forum where we can have these open dialogues. Unbeknownst to me, of certain tropes that we will continue to discuss in this forum, but it was at the time things that I thought was factual information. I didn't know were dog whistles to a certain.
Now you see what he's saying? He's going back on the research that he learned. So now he's saying what he learned is not the truth. See, this is what they do to you. This is part of the programming. Remember I told you about the batterer earlier? We did the manipulator versus the person that the victim. This is what they do. What you saw, it's not real. That's not real. It's a stereotype. It's a conspiracy theory. See? Nick Cannon didn't make up any of this stuff. This stuff was here before he was born, before I was born, for anybody that you hear now uttering any of these things before we were born. And it was from their own scholars, Jewish people.
Community. And, through this process, I've definitely learned, like when you said, when there's conversations about identity, there's conversations about, positions of power. And, when we come from two communities that, share oppression and, and have persecution in common, my goal in that conversation, once I laid the groundwork, was to get to the place of saying, there is no boogeyman. There is, and I think, well into the conversation, maybe too far in 90 minutes, maybe, or so, I kind of got to the point of like, well, we hear all of these things about certain people being in power, certain groups, oppressing other groups. But if we believe in, a conversation of empowerment, if we believe that we are powerful people, then we can't be afraid or scared of any oppressive powers or boogeymen. But obviously, through the times that we're currently in with social media and so many different things, people don't have time to sit down and necessarily listen to a whole 90-minute discussion. And like I said, when I set off quite a few alarms, hurtful alarms, that those were the things that rang through more than the conversation about empowerment. And that's where I apologize specifically for the hurtful words, because that was never my intention. So I needed to step back and really say, okay, well, if this is what I was attempting to do, but this is what came forth, I have to rethink and reconstruct this whole process. And now through, you know, this process of atonement. I would say atonement is a process. An apology is a step, but atonement is a process. And as we, you know, as our shared faiths know, you know, atoning is something that you know, we go through to make ourselves better. So if we're ever placed in this position again, that we make a different decision.
And of course, you dedicated yourself to education, which would prevent saying things that are either unfactual historically and equally important, painful to another community.
Now, when did that ever matter about anything, about what's painful? Now, is it not the truth that counts? Just because it hurts me to tell you that you're not a Jew, so what? It's the truth. You're not a Jew, right? So this is the thing that I find that's ironic with this, that's hurtful. What did he say that was bad? He said that we are the true people of God. So that means they hate you so much that if you even equate or even put yourself with them, they consider it hateful because they hate black people so much. Is that what they're saying? Because I'm trying to figure out what was so hateful about what he said. Right? I'm trying to figure this out. I don't see it. For them to warrant this type of what I mean, this guy speaking like Nick Cannon got a group of guys together and was beating up Jewish people and was online just speaking negative, saying all these things, making fun of them about the Holocaust. He wasn't doing that. He was saying that we should come together, that there's no hate involved. I just have a question on, if we supposed to be of the Abrahamic faith, why can't we get along, and why can't we say what's truth? What's wrong with that? Only if they don't want you to know that. Only if they have an agenda behind it. See? Only if they are the villains and only if they the villains trying to make the victim seem like they're doing something wrong. See, this is one. Listen, when I heard this is one of the most disgusting interviews I've ever seen in my life. That how this Jewish man is playing upon Nick Cannon. And how they're going to use this to play upon all of our people. To where now we'll be fearful to speak out because he said it's unfactual. Because he said is untrue. Because he said it was conspiracy theory. Right? So now we can't say we are the people without it being anti-Semitic. Now we can't have our own opinion on who the true people of God are. They had theirs, right? They say we're not the Egyptians. They say black people are not the Egyptians, or black, or because they thought they think we're Hamites. So in scholarship, in the scholarship arena, they say we're not the Egyptians, even though we know we're from Shem, right? They say we're not the Jews. So what's wrong with us saying, well, no, you're not the Jew? I mean, I'm trying my best to understand this. The logic it does not make sense. Only if, though, they don't want you to do research and study for yourself because they're afraid of what you might find out. Let's keep going.
What does that process look like for you?
That process is, it's a healthy process because, I always say words are what got us here, and words are powerful, but actions are even more powerful. And actions are going to be what gets me out of this, because people are going to see my true character, my true heart, the true compassion that I speak about when I'm saying, I do believe I come from a place and come from, a culture and a tradition of a compassionate people. And so even no matter what's going on, I must first say, I'm sorry. I must first say, I apologize. I must first say, I wish to repent when it comes to, the hurtful words. I often talk about, my children, and, in a sense where they like to throw rocks. They like to go outside and throw rocks. And, when they're throwing rocks, when a rock hits someone, first thing you do is you say, I apologize. Even if that wasn't your intention, even if it wasn't, however you see the situation, I teach my children, you must first apologize when you hurt someone, and then we'll deal with why you were throwing rocks, and figure out there's other things that you can throw, if other ways that you can engage in fellowship. So in that manner, my words hurt people, and I needed to understand after, I apologized. And that was the thing what I was initially questioning when, a lot of the people from the Jewish community and many other communities were wondering, well, you need to apologize. I was like, well, help me understand what I need to apologize for. Please correct me. People, like yourself and many others from different organizations, but even, specifically the AJC sent me a lot of literature and things where, like, even, this was so helpful.
So y'all see that. So even this is how much they'll go into it, where they sent a brother a magazine full of anti-Semitic, anti-Semitic sayings, right? Remember that chest I was telling you? So listen, I want to say this comment, right? This brother, I read this comment when I was doing my research on the lesson, and it's from this brother. It's called Super Fromestos. It says, listen what he said, and I find this funny. He said, he's talking about the interview between Nick Cannon and Professor Griff. He said, this is the interview where Nick Cannon accused the Jews of controlling everything and being vindictive. Then to teach him a lesson and prove it wasn't true, they fired him and took everything from him. Exactly. So if it wasn't true, if it wasn't true that y'all control everything, but then y'all, to prove it wasn't true, y'all fired the man and took everything from him? Let's go to the 13-minute mark, brothers and sisters. Listen to this, and this is sad, brother. This is sad, brothers and sisters, that we are allowing the people that has caused the most harm in the earth, especially to our people, make us out to be the bad guy. Oh, man. Listen.
We might come back to this, to the broad topic of understanding the Jewish people better.
To come out of my mouth, I want to, me being forced to do this, or me trying to save a job, or doing it for money. I got enough money. I'm good. I'm doing this because I truly want to bring our communities closer together and right the wrongs and get rid of anything that isn't true. Because everything I want to come out of my mouth, I want to be the truth. I want to speak truth. I want to speak love. I want to speak compassion. And if I'm not speaking truth, love, and compassion, then I'm wrong.
We might come back to this, to the broad topic of understanding the Jewish people better and avoiding anti-Semitic tropes, but I want to segue now to Black-Jewish relations, a challenging area. We have an African-American leader, a Jewish leader, talking to one another here. The history.
Not a leader.
Was a wonderful history.
Nick Cannon is not a leader, but that's what they want you to see. See, by naming him a leader, now people will follow him and say, well, yeah, I'm not talking about the Jews either. See, he's not a leader.
It continues to be a history of alliances, more than it's given credit for. Just recently, the Black Jewish Congressional Caucus reconvened itself under AJC's assistance, and there are alignments between the Black and Jewish communities. But it's true that there have been incidents, have been individuals that have derailed a bit that historical positive relationship.
Yes.
Now, when you talking about different people, now it's funny that they speak like this, like, well, they trying to be in alliance and allegiance with Black people to get to the problem of racism, when they were the main people that sponsored slavery. I find that it's almost like these, I finance you the money, and then also I finance you everything else. I benefit from everything else. This is what they're doing, like the bankers did, the Rothschilds. They sitting around saying, well, they in allegiance with Black people to make it right, but they are the cause on why we in the situation. Oh, man, let's keep going.
What is your understanding of the relationship between the two communities, and is this the moment when we need to get everybody together again?
This is definitely the moment we have to bring everyone together. I mean, initially, when we get to the core of it, we all come from the same place. And as brothers under the Abrahamic faith and studies, we know in which we speak of the motherland or we speak of the origin. If we're having a scriptural discussion, it truly is about just giving reverence to the Creator. And but once as years and centuries and oppressive nature comes across, it's I always talk about the great aristocracies and conquerors and the colonialism that has taken over the world. It's made us all compartmentalize, and it made us all embrace our people and who we are. But then at times, we find two oppressed people going at each other, and that definitely shouldn't be the goal. We all know, or some of us may or may not know, but we come from a persecuted people on many levels.
And this is where it gets very sick, that Nick Cannon is putting their oppression in the same light as black people's. Now, these are the people that own NBA, NFL, Hollywood, World Banks. Okay, how many NBA teams does black people own? Do black people own? One, Michael Jordan? How many NFL teams black people own? How many movie industries do black people own? And it's not like them. And for him to put saying we are both oppressed, no, sir. You cannot put no group of people on the planet Earth. They have nothing on what black people and Hispanic people have went through, and Native American Indians have went through in America. Nothing can be compared to that. And the point that we still suffer that. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't look at the Jewish people, but how can I begin to look at yours when mine is so bad? How can I relate to yours when I'm having issues relating to mine? How can I focus on your oppression when my oppression still haven't been answered? You have an answer. Black people are still being killed like we were being killed in the 60s. In the 50s, and the 40s, and the 30s, and the 20s. Nothing has changed. So how am I now to focus and try to come together under your plot on what we should do when my people are still being killed with no change? Now watch. Now it's sad that you cannot compare the Jewish, and I'm not down talking. I'm not saying anything about what they went through. But when you put the two together, it's no comparison. No comparison. And this is what the Jewish man wants. He wants you to compare his oppression and suffering to yours. You can't do that, Nick. It won't work like that.
And it goes all the way back to the origins in Africa. It goes, specifically, to the 1930s and 40s, and all the way to the civil rights movement. And in hand are great leaders like Dr. King and Stanley Levinson, who did so much together with Black and Jewish relations and beyond. But at times, those things can be, sometimes we're on the wrong side of history. Sometimes, our sensitivities, our fear comes forth, and we just wish to protect, or we wish to separate, when in those times we should come together. And it takes true leaders. It takes true strong people to stand firm and say, no, we're gonna bring this together. And I believe in the 2020 time, this is truly that time to do that. But we have to know the history. We have to know, that the Jewish community was a part of the civil rights movement and many other movements.
Yes, they were part of the civil rights movement because they first of all, they was over the NAACP. Of course they was in the civil rights movement because they had a hand in your behind being oppressed. I mean, come on, man. So we ought to give them credit because they was part of the civil rights. They was part of the problem. They was the origins of the problem. They was part of the origin of the problem and why we needed civil rights.
in Brown versus Board of Education to so many, but also we need the Jewish community to be with us in this fight in 2020 as well. And if there's a way to align, if there's something that we truly can do, I would love to be a conduit for that.
Well, it's clear to me that when you have two peoples who have the unfortunate distinction in hate crime statistics, my people being the most attacked people in the United States on the basis of faith.
Yes.
And your people being the most attacked people on the basis of race.
Now listen what he said. His people being the most attacked because of religion or faith. They're not attacking them because they're Jewish. They're attacking them because the history that's attached to them. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's justifiable. Nobody should be killed because of whatever. But don't act like it's simply because y'all in synagogue and just reading Torah. It's not that. It's deeper than that. People know. People read the history about the Jewish people. So that's why they have certain hatreds against the Jewish people. Right? So it's not a simple thing. And you know the main people that go against them is white supremacists. Because they read the histories. They know the histories. So it's not because they in synagogue praying and praying to God and reading Torah, and that's the reason why they're being killed. No, it's the history behind them that they carry with them. It's the stigma that they carry with them. But what do we carry as black people? What do we do? So you can't compare the two. See? So you can't compare the two, brother. Sisters, y'all, they can't. It's no way we should be sitting here saying that our oppression is similar to the Jewish. It's no comparison, right? No comparison. Now watch this. Watch this.
We understand that there are others who hate us.
Yes.
And when they hate, they don't discriminate between those whom they hate. And therefore, African Americans and Jews in this country have to fight the common enemy of hate of those who would disenfranchise, those who would not see all of us as part of the divine creation.
Listen what he said, that the Jewish people and the black people have the same common enemy. So says the person who stole your identity. I mean, when I heard this, that's one of those things in scripture where, I mean, it's like Satan trying to cast out Satan. Bro, you are the people that was causing hell among my people. And for you to come on and try to cleave on to what we've been going through and put yourself in there is something Satan would do. That we have a common enemy. So who is that enemy? Who is that common enemy? So says the people who stole our identity. Right, like brother said. More like the synagogue of Satan. Exactly. That's how it is. And that's why in Revelation it says that. I know them who say they are Jews and are not, but of the synagogue of Satan. And only Satan would do something like this. Make it seem like we have done something wrong and play victim along with the victims and say we both have the same common enemy. Like how Satan maneuvered the snake in the garden with Eve. See, don't bite off of it. Don't bite off that tree, brothers and sisters. This is what they want. They can't identify with us. Right? Let's keep reading. Let's keep going.
Oh, absolutely. And we've laid the groundwork throughout history. from the non-Black supporters in the civil rights movement, 40% of them were from the Jewish community.
Now, all the stuff Nick Cannon is saying, some he regurgitating from what they said. 40% of the people in the civil rights movement were Jewish people. Once again, because they had a big hand in our demise. How it's hard to reward them and say, well, I appreciate what y'all did when y'all put us in this situation. I mean, but see, this is the one, they don't want any learned brothers up there dealing with them. They want people like Nick Cannon, who he's studying, he knows a little bit, but he don't understand what's happening to him right now. He don't understand how they're using him for their agenda. Right? He don't understand it. Now watch. Now, let me see. I think I want to skip. Let me see where we at here. 18. Let's see. Let's go to 25 minutes. Now, look, listen to this. Let's go into 25 minutes. Listen to this.
If we really want to see a change, we have to be the change.
And as you know, from what I saw, lack of commitment to meeting this challenge now so that we can bequeath to our children a better legacy than the one we inherited.
Indeed.
Let's go back to anti-Semitism, which brought us together.
Indeed.
Anti-Semitism pulled a fast one on my generation. You know, I'm 61 years old. I was born here in the United States. Let's face it, I didn't have a lot of experience with anti-Semitism, having been brought up in Brooklyn and on the South Shore of Long Island, and having
You notice he said he had no issues with anti-Semitism. Now, how many times just a normal brother been called a nigger and faced racism in America? I'll wait. He said he hadn't really dealt with anti-Semitism. But how much racism has a average black man experienced in America? I'll wait. So how can you compare the two? Brothers are discriminated against and experience racism daily. For somebody to say they haven't experienced much racism and you can compare the two together is asinine. It's crazy. You can't compare the two. Let's keep going.
A insular Jewish experience and going to university, but we thought that 75 years after the Shoah, after the Holocaust, that this was a thing of the past. But it turned out that it wasn't. First in Europe and other places, and then here in our beloved United States, the most hospitable place for Jews in the history of the diaspora who wake up one morning and they're murdering Jews in synagogues, in Pittsburgh, in Poway.
He said America is the worst place for Jewish people. I don't know what they... I don't know where they... I can't even say nothing, man. Because he just said the worst place for Jewish people, is America. The most hospitable place, hostile place for Jewish people is America. Hello, is he not living here? But go to show you, brothers and sisters, this is the agenda they trying to push. The more they tell you that, the more you will look away from your atrocities, the stuff that's happening to you in America. The worst place for any group of people in America is black people. Let me go back and let y'all listen what he said. I mean, this is strange, brother. It was a very strange interview here.
It turned out that it wasn't. First in Europe and other places, and then here in our beloved United States, the most hospitable place for Jews in the history of the diaspora who wake up one morning and they're murdering Jews in synagogues, in Pittsburgh, in Poway, in Jersey City, in Muncie, and physical attacks against Jews in Brooklyn. And the anti-Semitism is from a multiplicity of sources. It's not just one source. It's multiple sources on the left, on the right. in the name of religious extremism, groups acting upon one another in an inexplicable way.
So he said hospitable. So let me get, okay, so never mind. So what he trying to say is that America was the worst place for Jews. I guess he don't understand the history of black people. And listen, we are not, this is what we don't want any group, we don't condone any violence against groups. No one should die for what they believe in, right? No one should die for what they believe in. But if we are to speak about sporadic events that happen to the Jewish people every couple years, a guy going to a synagogue and shoot up, versus black people being killed every day by police, it's hard for me to relate to that. It's hard for me to say, you know what? Yeah, bring the Jew. Let me talk to a Jewish man because he understands me. I can't. I would trade them the suffering of black. I would take their culture on real quick. I would take us being killed every year. You know, we just killed they kill brothers every other year. You know, they killing us daily. We're experiencing racism daily. Bill, we've been rejected and spit upon daily. And you want me to relate to some sporadic events of Jewish violence that happen every other year? It's hard for me to relate to that. When I see my people being killed every day. 1 week, you had 3 or 4 police shootings in 1 week. So I'm supposed to focus on what's happening to the Jewish people?
So, what?
Let's jump to 40 minutes, and after this, we're gonna go ahead and shut it down. I appreciate y'all listening, but this should really wake us up as a people and see what's really going on. What agenda is against black people, especially coming from the Jewish people. The worst thing black people can do is go hand in hand with the Jewish people. That's the worst thing you can do, because what they're trying to do, like they doing with Nick Cannon, is to educate you away from your true identity, to where you'll be too busy focused on them and you'll never grow within yourself. Like I said, any violence to any group is uncalled for. We don't listen. It's wrong either way. We don't promote that. We don't condone. Listen. If you do any harm to any group, you deserve the punishment to come to you. But for me as a black man, it's hard for me to relate to what he's saying and for me to understand and sympathize with him when my people are experiencing way worse conditions than he's talking about. It's hard to do that.
Is a leader, and I actually don't even consider myself a leader. I consider myself a member of the community, and I don't consider myself a celebrity either, because a celebrity is one who is celebrated, and right now I don't need to be celebrated. Right now it's time for me to be a student and listen and work.
Now this is one of the funniest things the whole thing. Y'all gonna laugh at this. This is one of those. Let me just listen to it. Nick done just all the way went off. That's our brother. We gotta pray for him. He going through some things, but this is ridiculous. Listen.
And put my efforts, my resources, and my energy towards bringing our communities closer together and towards creating a change.
You know, Nick, I don't know what the questioners are asking them. My kids are texting me why you didn't come to our house for Shabbat dinner.
I'm ready. Let me know. I'm definitely ready.
Okay, Belle.
Thank you. We're actually getting a lot of questions, Nick, regarding your opinion on the role that Black Jews can play in this part of the healing process between our communities as they straddle both identities. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, we need you guys more than ever. I have quite a few Black and Jewish friends that have, given me this conflict. And I told
listen to this, brother.
Rabbi Noam this before, and it's actually something that I really never wanted to share in the public because I didn't want to seem like I was using it as an excuse. And I'm still even nervous talking about it.
Is this a big deal? Is this the big reveal that's coming on, Nick?
I mean, I guess I could tell him. I mean, but it's something because I wanted to deal with the issues and truly atone and truly apologize. Learning and growing and not using excuses. But, you know, my mother has been calling me every single day since this has happened with so much family history and stuff. My mother's mother, or I'll just say, my great-grandfather was a Spanish rabbi, and he's a Sephardic Jewish man who, so as much heat as I've been catching.
Wait. Did Nick just say his great-grandfather is a Sephardic Jew? See, that's one of those things, man. I'm not racist. My best friend is black. We doing that, man. See, look, we done. I mean, look what we doing here. This is what it's designed for. See? I mean, when I heard that, I said, you know, I got to put this in a lesson because we got to end on that, because that right there shows you, brothers and sisters, don't fall for it. What Nick Canon said, or what he said with Professor Griff, was not anti-Semitic. It was not against anyone. It did not cause any hatred or harm. He did not tell a bunch of goons to go and find you. Nothing. He simply said if anybody was sitting down having a dialogue, this is what the dialogue would be: that black people are the Jews and y'all are not, and it will be upon them to prove upon a reasonable doubt that they are the Jewish people, and it'd be upon us to prove it. But it's called anti-Semitic if we claim to be Jews. What happened to the freedom of speech that we were promised here in America? What happens to that? See? So don't fall for it. Go back and make sure you share this video and understand what role they're trying to do, right? The villain now is trying a role reversal. Now he's playing the victim, and the victim now is playing the batterer, the person that's doing the harm, which is not true. But it's part of the programming, right? I hope that was edifying to y'all, brothers and sisters. I had to bring that out because it's sad that we're going through this, that Nick has to continue to apologize, and the stuff that he said about them is showing to be true. Only people with power can continue this thing up, to be continuing, going, keep. No one else can have the power to do this. But they're playing right into the hand of what they saying is a stereotype. Right? So stay tuned, brothers and sisters. I'm going to, in the future here soon, I'm going to bring out a detailed lesson on the Jewish people, right? We're going to bring out the documents. We're going to show the history of how they got the land of Israel, how it was an agenda behind it way before, that this wasn't God's, well, let me put it like this. It was part of God's will, because the Lord said in the Bible that the land should be trodden down, that the Gentiles will be in the land of Israel. So they supposed to be there, but it wasn't what the cloak that they're trying to be under as their God's people is not true. And that's where it comes in. Those who say they're Jews and are not, but a synagogue of Satan comes in. That's where it comes in, to where the Gentiles have trodden down the land, right? So that's where all those things come in. So they playing within Bible prophecy, but we just have to reveal who they truly are. Right? And we're going to do that. So make sure you subscribe to our church channel, Israelite Temple of the Living God, on YouTube. Also, our Facebook channels. Make sure you like us on Facebook. Also, if you look in the description, it should be in the description. So let me see here if it's in the description. Make sure you go and you like us you subscribe to our channels on YouTube and Facebook. Okay, let me make sure it's in here. Right, so yeah, it should be inside the description. Yeah, so make sure you can copy those links and copy and paste those links. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe to the channel so y'all can get the rest of these videos. I'm telling you, the videos that we about to drop is gonna be deep. It's gonna be you ain't gonna be able to refute it. I mean, it's gonna be scholarly research, not books that can be debunked, not sketchy books. It's not going to be there. It's going to be their scholars sent there, not the people. We don't need that. The Bible is good enough for us, but we're going to use their own people to destroy them. Okay? So appreciate y'all tuning in, brothers and sisters. If you need prayer or counsel, email us at the Israelite Temple LG@gmail.com, or send us a message on Facebook if you're in need of prayer or marriage counseling. Hit us up. Also, make sure you go back and look at our understanding marriage lesson we did last Sabbath. How do we truly understand Hebraic marriage, not worldly marriage, right? So we taught about that. Also, stay tuned. I'll be going into another lesson dealing with after the establishment of marriage. When you're actually married, how should you operate? So that lesson will be coming soon. Stay tuned with that. All right. So with that, brothers and sisters, thank y'all for tuning in. My name is Elder Asiy'EL bin Israel. With that, have a good night. May the Most High God be with you.